Hi, this is Terry with Average Joes Bowfishing. One of the most common questions we get when we're out on the water is how to identify fish. One really cool thing about bowfishing is we're not only out there to shoot rough fish, but there's a lot of game fish that we see out in the water as well, and it's really cool to see those because you don't normally see them when you're out fishing during the day. So I'm going to go through some slides with you and I'll show you some things that I've noticed, some characteristics of some game fish and some rough fish. So when you do get out on the water, whether you're new to getting on the water or if you've been bowfishing before, I'm hoping you can take some information from this video that'll be helpful to you the next time you get out. So we'll start out with largemouth bass. This is a game fish that we cannot shoot, but they're plentiful. We see these a lot when we go out bowfishing. Some of the smaller carp do kind of resemble the size of a bass, largemouth bass. So some of the things to look for is not only do you have the green top, the darker green top, you'll also have a white belly, but the most important thing is this black lateral line going horizontal across the bass. That's one of the quickest things that you can see and pick up on, so you can identify that as a largemouth bass and simply observe that fish. Next fish, this is the walleye. There's three things that I look at on the walleye, a couple things that I can do very quickly, and I can identify it as a walleye versus maybe a sucker or a carp as well. Not only does the eye glow, that'll be pretty evident. The white tail, this is probably the one thing that I always look at. Anytime I see a fish where I think it might be a walleye, I immediately look at the tail, and the white tip on the tail glows pretty bright. So if you see that white tip, you know it's a walleye. You cannot shoot the walleye. But they're really cool to observe some of these. One of the other things you'll notice on the walleye, which you don't normally notice, but you're looking straight down on the back of the walleye's back is actually very blotchy. So it's not uniform in color, it's very blotchy. That's one of the other things that's easy to see on a walleye. The blotchiness, the eye, and that tail, those things will help you identify that as a walleye, and you can observe that fish. Next fish, this is a sucker. Sometimes looking at a sucker and a walleye, they're similar in size, so you can kind of see based off of the walleye, it's more uniform in color on its back. There's no white tip on the tail, but one of the things that I've noticed on a sucker is the pectoral fin will actually span out like wings on an airplane. So they'll hover along the bottom, and that is the one thing that helps me identify that as a sucker, and a sucker is a shootable fish. Next. This is also a sucker. This is a red horse. Similar scales to a carp. They're just a little bit smaller. They're fairly uniform. But the red horse, you're going to notice all of the fins, including the tail, will glow red. Usually, you'll find those in some of the river systems or lakes that will shoot. This is a dogfish, very common in the shallow water. You'll see a lot of these when we go out bow fishing as well. The black dot on the tail, that's easy to identify as a dogfish. Generally the males have that dot on the tail. But the one thing on a dogfish is the dorsal fin goes from the back of their head to all the way to the tail. And many times it'll be waving in the water. Sometimes it won't be moving at all, but generally that fin, that long dorsal fin is how you're going to identify that dogfish, and a dogfish is a shootable fish. Next slide. This is a common carp, and this is a smaller common carp. Probably when they get to maybe that 2 to 5 pound range, they're going to be very similar to the size of a bass. So I kind of mentioned the bass before. I'm going to show the bass again, the largemouth bass, after this picture. But you'll notice compared to the bass, this is more uniform in color. You don't have that lateral line like you do on the bass. But you'll notice the back comes to a kind of a point. There's a hump there. That's one of the things you'll notice on the smaller carp that'll help you quickly identify it. And we're going to go back to that largemouth bass, and you can see that lateral line is a key feature to look on that. So, and then the last one we have here is the most sought after bow fishing fish. This is the common carp. They're generally, when they start to get 10 to 15 pounds, there really isn't anything else that looks anything like that. They're pretty unique. They got fairly big scales, again uniform in color. They're generally really big and very easy to identify. They glow. They've got kind of an orange hue or an orange glow to them. They've got little whiskers coming off their mouth as well. But generally that's what they'll look like in the water, and they're pretty easy to identify because of their sheer size. So thanks again for watching. If you have any other related to fishing, go ahead and go visit averagejoesbowfishing.com and send us a message. We'd like to hear from you, and we can do more videos on that as well, or subscribe to Average Joes Bowfishing YouTube channel, and we'd love to see you.